Good morning, Liberty.
Hey, Justin, how's it going?
Doing good. How are you doing today?
Good. So excited to be here again on the Small Business Voice on Power Talk 1360 KFIV.
How'd you get such a patriotic name? I have to ask you this, first of all. Liberty. I love it. Liberty. How'd you get such a patriotic name?
Well, it's actually not a super glorifying story, but back in the day, 37 years ago, we have an article that talks about my name in the paper. So when kids were born back then, you could have articles all talking about we're so excited our family's brought this baby into the world and blah, blah, blah. So in my article announcing my birth, my father says that he wants me to be the first female president. So he must give me a patriotic name to go along with that. And luckily, we've agreed we're not talking politics here on the radio because it's not my strong suit. It's actually not something I'm super passionate about. So.
All right, so we tried. It's swing and a miss, but still just a beautiful name.
Yeah, absolutely. Great question, Justin.
But it stands out, too. It does great for branding.
Yes.
So that's one thing that sticks out for you is branding.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Branding is definitely the essence of how people experience you, and having a unique name does definitely set me apart. People often ask me if it's my real name. Which is really fun because my mind goes to, well, what do you think that is? Like my stripper name or in the professional atmosphere, it's Liberty.
I'm not going to have a comment on that because your husband's sitting right there. So I'm going to leave that one alone.
Okay.
So we don't talk about politics, but one thing we do talk about is taxes.
Yeah.
And taxes are a really big headache. I just actually had to pay like $1,000 tax bill a couple weeks ago.
Oh, you're lucky. It was only $1,000.
It was only $1,000. It still hurts. I still cried walking out the door. But it's something I had to do. But taxes is part of everyday business. We actually have somebody coming on, Cathi, Korelin, our tax Guruette, is going to come on in a little bit and talk about taxes with us. And we have a little game for both of you. I have a surprise, yeah. So.
I love this. The surprise factor. Last week I learned that you have an idea for us to be on a television show. So this week I get a surprise game. All right.
Yes. It'll be a fun game about taxes.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Now, I'll give you an example. So I did work with the business, a restaurant, a few years ago. Mm-hmm. And this is in California, believe it or not. And they were only in business for about a year. I won't say the name, but they were in business for about a year. And the one thing they did not do was they did not pass down the tax to the customer. And when I asked about it, they said, "Well, we built that into the price." And I'm thinking, we don't really do that in California. We always want to pass the tax on to our customer.
Right.
Yeah, and I always thought that was kind of odd. And so a lot of small business owners can go into business not really knowing what to do tax-wise. Mm-hmm. And it's always good to have an ally on your team, like our tax Guruette. We have, being small business owners, luckily, and being in networking groups, we have a lot of power partners. We have a lot of people that can help us out. That's why I always say, get into a networking group, because there's a lot we don't know out there. We need that support. We need that help getting through every day and every week.
You're right. I don't want the responsibility of knowing every single thing.
Yeah.
That would really defer us from our zone of genius. I always like to say, stay in your lane.
Yes, the zone of genius, yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so what are things that have challenged you in your business in the past?
Well, one of our guests that we're going to be having on the show, on one of the shows coming up, is going to be actually talking about some of the challenges that they have faced as a business when it comes to taxes. So that'll be something we can definitely share with Cathi and bring up is, what to do in this position where you have some employees. And, there's taxes on so many different sides when you have employees. On top of that, workers' compensation and the payroll.
Yeah.
So, even just a couple of employees can set you back, $20,000 for a quarter.
Well, and we're pretty fortunate because, as far as I know, you don't have any employees in your business.
Not yet. And my plan moving forward would be subcontracting to avoid the taxation.
Yeah, it's scary, and I don't have any employees either, and I'm glad. I mean, it's a bittersweet thing because if you do have employees, maybe you're doing well enough to where you can do all that. But starting out, a lot of business owners have a lot of money tied up, just tied up. They don't have the money to do all that.
Absolutely. Well, you are listening to the Small Business Voice on Power Talk KFIV 1360 with your hosts, Justin Duncan and Liberty Santiago.
Enjoying a great week in sunny California.
Absolutely.
Yes. Did you take any time off this weekend? Did you? Because we're always working.
No.
No?
Yeah, this weekend, no. I would say last night was a little break.
Yeah. Me
and my partner, we got to have some dinner. The kids are with their other families, so we celebrated.
Nice. So you had some quiet, private time.
Yes.
Yeah, nice. Except for the dogs.
Well, I am a firm believer that you can have it all, and we can definitely talk about that later on in the show. Keep listening, and we will get into that because I feel very passionately that success in the bedroom is success in the boardroom, and having a work-life balance is super important, and that you can have it all.
All right.
And that's what we're going to bring to the
talk
table.
About the fourth segment. That's good. You're listening to Justin Duncan and Liberty Santiago on Power Talk 1360 KFIV. We'll be back in a flash. So we're back. We're here with Cathi, the tax Guruette, Cathi Korelin. Cathi, how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good, thank you.
So to start off, to kind of lighten things up, I got a quiz for you and Liberty this morning. It's a tax quiz. And we're going to see how well you do. This first question is very easy. So your tax returns are due on, not including extensions, April 1st, April 15th, April 21st, or April 30th. Liberty, I'll let you go first.
April 15th.
Is that correct, Cathi?
It depends on which year you're talking about. Normally, yes. This year it was May 15th, and last year it was July 15th.
So,
so no.
Well, according to this,
it depends which year you're talking about.
So according to this, the April 15th is the correct answer. So I actually got this one wrong. I got 6 out of 10. So it's a good thing you're here. If you file an extension, your tax return is due on October 1st, October 10th, October 15th, or Halloween. Liberty?
I'm going to go with October 15th.
Cathi, is that right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I guess October 10th. I should have known better. They'd stay with the 15s.
Well, I have to let you in on a little secret. I have been working with Cathi, and she is actually really, really good at what she does, and she's very informative, and this is all from me working with her. I don't have any cheat sheets here.
Yeah, no, I get to test for that, Cathi. I don't see anything right there, so you'd be proud.
Thank you.
All right. So, is there a penalty for filing your tax return late? Yes or no?
Yes, there is a failure to file. There's a failure to file penalty, and if you owe taxes, there is a failure to pay penalty, plus interest until it's paid.
That's why we want a good person like you in our corner, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Keep in mind with that October 15 deadline, that is the deadline to file paperwork. Your actual taxes due were still due April 15, whether the tax return was filed or not.
Okay. So what is the tax form used most often to file taxes? A 1040, an 1120, a 1350, or 1470? I'll go to Liberty.
1040.
Is that correct, Cathi?
Yes, 1040.
Okay.
Yes, that is correct. So you guys are racing this so far.
I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah, I got 6 out of 10. I'm not looking too good right now.
I'm not nearly as excited about this as I sound.
There could be more difficult questions coming up.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I think this is for amateurs, and I still got 6 out of 10. So
okay,
I'm in trouble. So ways to reduce your tax bill. So this one says selected all apply. So contributing to pre-tax retirement accounts, contributing to charities, contributing to a HSA or FSA, or maximize your tax deductions.
Can we go for repeat the question?
So this is ways to reduce your tax bill. Do you think they all?
Yes, all apply.
Kathy?
Absolutely, all apply.
All apply. That's correct. And right now, you guys got 5 out of 5. I'm not looking that good, am I, Alex? Yeah, he's shaking his head. You can claim another person as a dependent until they are what age? So Liberty 16 or 19 if they're a full-time student, 21 or 25 if they're a full-time student, 19 or 24 if they're a full-time student, or 18 or 21 if they're a full-time student. I got this one wrong.
I'm going to go with positive thinking of 25.
21 or 25 full-time student?
Yeah.
Kathy?
So in actuality, you can claim a dependent of almost any age depending on circumstances.
Oh,
you could actually have a disabled child that's 60 years old and claim them.
Oh, okay. So according to Test Your Tax
the
Knowledge...
most common is the younger ones, yes.
Yeah. This one, so this is Test Your Tax Knowledge. According to them, it's 19 or 24 if they're a full-time student, which I guess the 21 to 25 too, which I got wrong. So you did get one wrong. So I feel a little bit better about myself, Liberty.
That's so good.
But, I need to root for you. So, yeah. So,
yeah, we're on the same team here,
yes,
man.
Yes. So what are the tax statuses? Select all that apply. So there's single, married filing jointly, married filing separately, head of household, or qualifying widower. So the question again is, what are the tax statuses? We should do this like Jeopardy.
I think all of those are tax statuses. No,
is that
head of household is definitely a tax status.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the above.
All the above,
and
that is correct. All the above.
Yay! I'm doing so good.
Yes.
But let me just tell you, as a business owner, you should not. I don't like to do shoulds, but you should not file your own taxes. No. And that was one of the good things about being in Gold Star is you had people there to support you. So let's see. One of the two main deductions is taken on every individual tax return. What are those two deductions? So there's a standard deduction, family deduction, tax deduction, or itemized deduction. So there's two main deductions. What are the two main ones? Standard and itemized. Kathy?
Standard and itemized.
Wow. Yeah, you guys are on it today. You must...
As I said, I am sounding way more excited about this than I actually am. This just means that I've had multiple run-ins with tax type things.
So, how long does the IRS have to audit your tax return, generally speaking? So this is 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, or 5 years?
I would think that they could do it whenever they want. I mean, that's how they act anyways.
So I've never been audited or anything, so I love the IRS. I always get money back, so the IRS has treated me. So the IRS is a good organization. And yes, I am kissing butt. Yeah. Don't
worry, nobody's listening who's going to make any changes to your tax status.
So, Kathy, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, or 5 years?
In general, they usually only go back 3 years.
3 years. Yeah.
Can be more, but in general, 3 years.
Well, that is correct. So last question, and I missed this one, I remember. So what are some common tax credits? So we have the Earned Income Credit, the Child Tax Credit, the Child and Dependent Care Credit, American Opportunity Credit, and the Lifetime Learning Credit.
I haven't heard of the last three, so I'd say 1 and 2.
1 and 2. Kathy?
So all but the Child Independent Credit. There's no such thing as a Child Independent Credit.
So, okay. So.
But the other 4 are all credits.
Okay. It said almost. So it said, the Earned Income Credit, Child. So I think for some reason it doesn't want to give you a perfect score. I believe you, Kathy. You've been doing taxes a long time, so.
Kathy knows what she's talking about for sure.
That's why she's the tax guruette.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And you're listening to The Small Business Voice with Justin Duncan and Liberty Santiago on Power Talk 1360 KFIV. We're here talking with Cathi Korelin, the tax guruette. Our show is specifically designed to help the business owner, and that is why we wanted to bring on our genius mind, Cathi Korelin, to talk to us about taxes for the business owner. You can reach Cathi at taxguruette.com. You can also give her a ring at 209-402-4661. And she is the genius. She is the tax guruette.
Yeah, she is something else. So you also do Covered California. For small businesses that have not a lot of employees, there's an opportunity through that to offer benefits to them. Is that correct?
That is correct. So if you wish to include a little bit of health insurance for your employees, but you can't afford big payouts, an employer can actually offer a certain amount every month to pay towards their employees' bills. So say you want to pay $100, $150. You go into Covered California to their SHOP program. You tell them how much you want to pay, and for whether it's gold, silver, platinum, bronze, and the employees can then go in and choose which programs they actually want, and they get a credit of how much you're paying for the program. They can pay the difference.
Okay, and in California, we have to have insurance, period, or you get fined, and the fine is a couple grand at least. Is that a good thing for the employer to offer their employees instead of them having to go out and get it themselves?
So health insurance, of course, is always a good benefit to offer. It really kind of depends on the salary range that you're offering your employees, because there are a lot of people who could get really reduced costs anyway. So under certain amounts, they can get free or nearly free health insurance. So it could be a good benefit depending on the amount you're paying your employees. If it's a low paying field, it may actually be cheaper for them just to get it themselves.
Okay.
But if you're over the amounts, then it's a very helpful thing, yes.
Cathi, could you give us a range of what that looks like?
So there have been a lot of changes to the program in the last 6 months because of the coronavirus. Mm-hmm. But in general, before that, and when this probably whole thing ends, if you were making $64,000 a year, 2 adults and 2 kids, the kids would still be covered under Medi-Cal.
Wow. Yeah, wow.
That is definitely a big, huge leap from what I am familiar with in the past.
So
the parents can be paying a lot more for their insurance, but the kids would be under Medi-Cal. So it's really kind of a take and give, but it's still a great option to give your employees. And it also looks good as an employer. Many employees will stick with you if you offer these type of benefits, even if they make less money than if you don't. Sometimes it may be good to offer health insurance, or it could be good to offer some other type of supplemental health benefits to keep your employees.
All right. Well, Cathi, we want to know as employers how we can save some money. Do you have some nuggets for us to take out of that?
I think that would pique the interest of everyone.
Because of coronavirus, the credits are there. So there is a thing called the employee retention credit. Most employers have probably not heard that expression, but you may have benefited from it. This came in March of last year, and it was worth up to 50% of wages, up to $10,000 for each employee. Now, people also got the Paycheck Protection Program, or the PPP, and most people have heard of the PPP because it was a loan that was not necessarily having to be paid back. When this employee retention credit came out, they said, oh, I'm sorry, if you got the PPP, you can't even apply for the employee retention credit. Well, that changed later on in the year. When the new coronavirus benefits came out, they said, by the way, you can now have both. You can never double dip. You can't use the same wages. So if you had the PPP back in early part of 2020 and you did not get the employee retention credit, that can be worked out. With the new credit for 2021, this amount, instead of being up to $10,000 per employee, it's up to $10,000 per quarter per employee.
Ooh.
So I believe it maxes out somewhere around $14,000 a year. It was originally 50% of wages, and it went up to 70% of wages.
Wow.
So if for every employee you have, you could end up saving anywhere somewhere around $14,000 per employee if you qualify.
So if you were to translate that to us, what does that actually look like? I'm hearing credits. I'm hearing there's been an increase. I'm hearing double dipping. But if you could just translate that for us, what does that actually look like? So the business owner's paying payroll and taxes, and then what is happening with these types of credits?
It is a refund of some of your payroll credits. So when you have an employee, you withhold taxes, Social Security, Medicare, federal withholding, state withholdings. So payroll taxes are Social Security and Medicare. So the employee retention credit is a refund of some of those payroll taxes. Now, since it's already the middle of 2021, if you did not take advantage of it last year, you can actually go back and amend, so redo your tax filings for 2020 and early part of 2021 and still take advantage of these monies.
And you would not recommend doing that by yourself, correct?
No.
Yeah.
What happened was if you have the PPP loan, you use that for wages. And the employee retention credit is based on wages. You cannot use the same wages. So you really have to be careful about which wages you use for each thing. So you have to be able to allocate some here and some there. So it's really important that you use a professional who has the experience doing this. If you do your own taxes and you use a payroll company, most payroll companies were not willing to do it. Not all tax professionals are willing to do it. There were so many tax law changes between March of 2020 and March of 2021 that some tax professionals just wiped their hands of it and said, forget it, I'm not doing it.
You know what? It sounds like a horror movie for business owners. You're trying to figure out these tax problems and these taxes just come out of nowhere and you're trying to escape them and you just can't do it. It sounds like a horror. Sounds like a horror movie.
Yeah. Well, you know what, Cathi? I'm sensing a willingness in your voice that you are willing to help the business owner. And where we could find you is on taxguruette.com. And I'm looking at your website, and you've made it super simple for people to connect with you. And just hit that button, book now, so they can actually book a call with you, and you can get this all squared away, those 2020 taxes amended, and file for the 2021 correctly so they can get all these credits and just really save the day. And we appreciate you for wearing your tax cape and being the hero.
Yes.
Also, we can reach you by calling you at 209-402-4661.
All right. Yeah, Cathi, you're our hero in this movie. You have to save all of us.
Well, California has always been difficult to deal with. So when the PPP loan came out, it was considered non-taxable once it was forgiven. We had to wait a really long time because California was going to still tax it. California finally came in conformed. So California is now saying, as long as you meet our qualifications, we won't tax the Paycheck Protection Program loan.
That's awesome.
Which was a really nice benefit.
Yeah, thank you, California.
It makes it much more difficult to do taxes when federal doesn't tax something and then California does. Especially if you're doing your own taxes and you're using a DIY type provider that can't tell you that this is taxed for federal and this is not taxed for federal. This is taxed for California and federal doesn't tax it. So if you have conflicting rules, you have to know those conflicting rules are there.
Yeah.
Other changes that came with the pandemic, a lot of people have benefits to their company where they'll pay for reimbursement for college, like up to $5,250. With the pandemic, the employers are actually able to use that $5,250 to pay off your employee's student loan instead of college.
Ooh.
There you go.
That was one of the coronavirus options. If you have employees that are working from home and we're in a disaster area, so basically the whole country is a disaster area, there are other benefits that you can pay your employees if they're working from home. If they have a child that has to be at school from home now, and you only have one computer, you have to use it to work, you have to have another computer for the child, the employer's able to actually pay for that second computer for the child. Or the employer can actually pay for tutoring for your child. Normally these are deduction, these would never be a deduction for taxes, but with the emergency provisions, these are all really great incentives for your employees that have to work from home and to keep your employees. It's really hard to keep employees right now. So all these extra benefits that you can give them will help retain your employees.
Yeah, and we just need somebody like you in our corner because none of us know anything.
Absolutely. And if you feel overwhelmed listening, you just want to get yourself in the mindset that now my next action is deciding to not be overwhelmed by going on the web, taxguruette.com, and booking that call with Cathi, because she will take the overwhelm out of the taxes.
Yeah. And she loves numbers too. What's your favorite number, Cathi?
Well, it's going to sound kind of strange, but I like numbers that are divisible by 2.
Ooh.
See?
But it's
even numbers, is that what I'm hearing? Or
not necessarily. Any
Okay.
number can be divisible by 2.
Well, you get an
But it could be a
odd
fraction.
number. Yeah, fraction.
I told you she loves numbers.
Oh, goodness.
Linear
Yes.
algebra was always my favorite math in school, where you had multiple equations and you had to add them all up together. Oh, it was so fun. It was a lot of fun.
Actually, I have a fun question for you. So tell us, what is the highest level math that you attended in your schooling?
Highest level was linear algebra. So it was after regular high school math, you go into 3 semesters of calculus, and then linear algebra was after calculus. And I was actually a math minor in college.
I know this
Wow.
about you. That's great. I think I got to algebra, and I think I got a C+. So
I know how to add and subtract and multiply and divide. That's about that's my width right there.
I'm gonna give you guys some really juicy information. So for 7 years, I was a financial coordinator, and my math skill was whipping out the calculator.
That's a good weapon, Liberty.
That's right.
Hey, if that works, it keeps you from making mistakes. Not everybody can do math in their head, and you shouldn't be expected to.
Yeah, that was way too overwhelming. And even to be asked like a simple mathematical equation in front of a client, I would like freeze. And I'm like, hold on. I probably know the answer, but let me just go ahead and get this calculator.
Some of us do math weird. I mean, smaller numbers, when you do them in your head, it's not there about like 28 plus 27, 8 plus 7, 5, carry the one. It's more like, 28 rounds up to 30 and 27 rounds up to 30. So that's 60. And then 28 is 2 away from 30 and 27 is 3 away from 30. So that's 5. So 60 minus 5 is 55.
Wow.
And that's how math works in my head.
And that's probably pretty like invigorating for you, but that's very nauseating for me.
So, Cathi, really quick. So, if you're drawing math equations on the chalkboard, do they like pop out at you like in 3D? Like, you ever see that? Like on what was that? The movie with Russell Crowe. Is that you, Cathi? Do these numbers come out like in 3D and just talk to you?
Well, actually, my head counts. As opposed to solving equations much, my head counts. I'll go into a room and it's like, I don't even realize I'm counting. And I'll like know how many chairs there are.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Yeah. So I just, this is going to sound stupid, but when I was younger, we lived on an upstairs apartment and there's like 13 steps. Well, 13 is not even. You have to go back down and back up. So you have an even number.
Okay. Your parents are probably like, what are you doing?
Wow. You know what, Cathi? I've known you for, 3 or 4 years? And this interview, I've learned so much more about you. Liberty and I really appreciate it. And people can find you at taxguruette.com. And that's spelled TAXGURUETTE.
And your phone number is 209-402-4661. We are the Small Business Voice. This is Liberty Santiago with Justin Duncan.
We are here with the tax guruette, Cathi Korelin, talking numbers. She's going to teach us more about taxes and numbers and all that stuff that we don't want to know about.
She's bringing that to us.
Thank God.
And one of the ways that I work with my clients is by having them take a step back and a step in to themselves introspectively with certain tests. And one of the tests that we do together is a numerology test. You take your name, and every letter has an assigned number, and then you combine that together to find your life path number, your life purpose, like all these different numbers that really, if you read this report about yourself, it's so mind-blowing. Like, how could, the name thing you're talking about, like, why are you named Liberty? It's like very on purpose, on point, and you read all this stuff and you're like, this is so me.
I think we did something like that when I was younger.
Because people love to know about themselves. And I had my daughter do it. And my daughter said that hers was not right, but I could tell. Like, me in my parent mind, I'm over here going, yes, that is you. But she's about to be 19, so she knows best, apparently.
Well, when you're 16 or 17, 18, you know more than your parents because your parents are stupid.
Yeah, so if you go to horoscopes.astrology on Instagram, they have this highlight called Get Reading. It's a moon and some stars, and you can press that. So it's really cool.
I never even knew about any of this stuff before. Like, the numerology or anything like that.
So it is actually something that I work with my clients on. Is we do lots of personality tests. I have them take the disc profile test. I just incorporated the erotic blueprint into the work that I do, which is really one of the things that we talk about. Wow. And the human design is another fascinating one. And there's so much to know about every single one of these that I don't say that I'm the genius of these, but I say we use these tools to better understand our weaknesses and our strengths, because essentially one of my messages to clients is about creating an unconditional love for yourself. And when you constantly are berating yourself or being a critic, then you're damaging your self-image. But if you could better understand the way that you're designed, like this is your life path, this is something that you cannot change about yourself, accepting it, loving it is the pathway to that unconditional space in your heart where you just say, my procrastination is not something that I want to like beat myself up about. My procrastination is something I want to become aware about. And then I find tools to work around that sort of a character flaw. Mm-hmm. We're all uniquely, beautifully designed, right? We're not broken. None of us are broken. And I think society teaches that if you are not a certain way, if you do not conform, then you are therefore flawed and not perfect.
When we're in school, we get these tests, and you fail. And it's already put into your head at a young age, like failing is bad. And when you get to being an adult, it's you don't want to fail anything, but at the same time, it's like failure is kind of good because if you fail at something, you keep on doing it. Mm-hmm. You get better. Abraham Lincoln failed his way to the top. I mean, this guy he was a businessman. He had a number of businesses that failed.
Thomas Edison with the light bulb 10,000 times before he got it. Yeah. Before he got the incandescent lighting going. So failure is a natural part of our processes. And in school, we are given tests all the time. You may not be a good test taker.
No.
It doesn't mean that you do not retain the information. It doesn't mean that your brain is broken. It doesn't mean that you don't have talents. You know, we need artists. We need people who have empathy and emotional capacity. We don't always need test takers.
No.
How many test takers do we really need?
You know what? I hate taking tests. You know, I've been driving a truck it'll be 27 years, and I've had to retake the test, and I failed it twice.
The Class A test?
The Class A test, yeah. I failed it twice each time because I just don't take tests. And, you know, there's verbiage that truckers use, but on the test it's different. So you don't always put two and two together.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm a horrible test taker, by the way. I can't stand it.
So I do really good at tests because I memorize and I will cram the information into my brain just to take the test well. Yeah. I don't remember any of the information after that. It's literally a survival mode. It can be a good thing, right? Because then I do good on the test, but then afterwards, what is that going to apply? Implementation is really important. So if we're just over here taking tests just to take tests, what good is that? Who's that serving? That's serving teachers and scorecards and this and that. And I get that all has a place and it has metrics. But if we're not teaching our children how to apply skills into their life, if we're not teaching people how to implement these powerful tools, then what good is it anyways?
Yeah.
I taught taxes for Jackson Hewitt, and, you know, it's only set to, like, you know, lecture and watch videos and take tests. Mm-hmm. And, you know, there are different ways people learn: hearing, seeing, doing. Mm-hmm. And so I would actually bring in, you know, tax forms and make people hand do the tax forms. Mm-hmm. And I would put up scenarios. All the tax classes are like, fact, here's a fact, here's a fact, here's a fact. And there's nothing on how to put all the facts together or to create a real personal scenario. And so I used to use those big Post-its, like the 2 feet by 1 foot ones. And I'd put scenarios up there. And I would make the students go around and answer as much of the scenarios as they can, whether it's an actual answer or just putting down the names of the facts they can figure out from it, whatever information they could give me towards that scenario. There was no really right or wrong. It's how much did you retain? How much can you see in this scenario from what we've learned? Well, because there's nowhere that puts all the facts together.
Well, I was going to tell you, Cathi, for me, like, if you were to teach me taxes, I'd be a hands-on person. So that's how I learn. You know, so if you were to sit me in a class and teach me everything, you know, one at a time, the chances of me remembering that are slim to none. And Slim just walked out the door. And I just, so I need to be more like hands-on with you over my shoulder. And if I'm typing in numbers and saying, okay, this is good. Okay, you messed up here. This is why we do this. That's how I learned, you know, trial and error.
Yeah. We're here with the Small Business Voice. This is Liberty Santiago, and I have my host here, Justin Duncan. You're listening to Power Talk 1360 KFIV. We have our guest, Cathi Korelin. She is the tax Guruette. And for you small business owners and entrepreneurs, I really want to encourage you to have a tax professional like Cathi helping you. DIY is not the way to go.
No, not when it comes to taxes.
You don't want to mess with that. Plus, Cathi knows way too many ways to help save you thousands and thousands of dollars.
Yeah, you know what, Cathi? Like I said, I've known you for a while, and you know, I've known you saved many business owners thousands of dollars. You know, they come in, they're behind 3 years, and you find the money. Ironically, is that a true statement?
Oh, absolutely. People who need to file multiple years really need that cash. And there's always reasons that people don't file. So don't be embarrassed to come in and actually get past yours done. I find that once you stop filing, it's hard. People have a hard time getting started again because they think they're going to be audited or they're a higher risk, and you're not. So if you're behind, the best thing to do is to get caught up.
All right.
And you can find Cathi at taxguruette.com.
All right. Liberty, where can we find you?
At libertybrand.biz, B-I-Z.
All right. And you can find me at smallbusinessvoicemedia@gmail.com. Actually, you can message me there, or smallbusinessvoiceshow@gmail.com. We'll see you next week, everybody. Have a great week.